Alrighty, we'll open up questions for Coach Schiano. Front row right, Austin.
Greg, you talked a lot about Jordan Fuller and that ability to erase plays and help you in the back end. What is it about him that makes him so good for that role?
Well, he's a very good athlete, number one, and has good anticipation, good vision. Jordan would be good whatever he did. He came here as a corner. He could play corner. He's got that kind of coverage skills. He could play receiver, and he was a quarterback in high school. Just has a real good spatial awareness, and he's a good tackler.
You guys talked throughout the offseason about that other spot next to him being a big concern, or maybe the biggest on the team. Do you feel like it's settled at this point, or do you still have some questions about that going even into Game 3?
Well, Isaiah, I thought he played well on Saturday. He's still a young guy, doesn't have a lot of reps underneath him. So, Sean Wade is getting better and better. So he's kind of, we're trying to find a place for him. But I'm encouraged by Isaiah, and I think Jocelyn is going to continue. There's some other guys too at the position that are young. They're kind of all the same age, so we're going to keep that thing going for a little bit and see if one of them can pull away.
Third row middle, Taylor.
Yeah, Coach, kind of switching over to the NFL a little bit. I don't know if you got to see Denzel Ward play at all. Just what were your thoughts on his 2 interceptions in his first ever NFL game?
Well, I did not get to see it because we were working, but I did hear from the players a lot, and just really excited for him. He's not a nicer guy in the world, and he's a tremendous athlete, and to do it in his hometown has got to be pretty cool for him.
Front row middle, Dave.
Coach, middle linebacker, I know you guys are doing some shuffling there. Just what's your assessment? I know it's only 2 games. Tough's probably not even 100% yet, but just what's your assessment on your middle backers so far?
Well, as I've said, throughout, I think we have more than 3 linebackers, so more than 3 will play. Both those guys, I think, are getting better and better. Tough, obviously, coming back off the injury, and Barron just kind of getting his feet underneath him as a middle linebacker. So I anticipate that to continue, that they'll both play. Tough has just got such a sense for the football. He seems to be around the ball all the time. And, Barron has an unbelievable ability to cover ground. If you look at him for a big man, he runs, well, for anybody, he runs extremely well.
And Sean Wade, you mentioned him earlier. It seemed like he played really well. Can you just explain what his role is and maybe how you envision his role being going forward?
Well, we're just going to try to find ways to get him on the field. So he can play corner, he can play in the nickel as he did this week, and I think eventually he'll be able to play at the safety position. So that's a good for him because that's as many opportunities you can have in the secondary to play.
And then just real quick, Tyreek Johnson, is he hurt? Why is he, I don't think he's played yet, Tyreek Johnson?
No, Tyreek is just, not everybody can play. So
right.
It's,
right.
It's a competitive environment. Tyreek's doing well though, and especially in the last 10 days, I think he's really catching on. So hopefully somewhere down the road he will play.
Third row left, Dan.
What do you see in this TCU offense when you look at them on film? Do their receivers, their running backs stand out in terms of how they can challenge you guys?
They do. They're a really talented offense. I think, I believe this in all of football. It starts with the offensive and defensive lines. Their offensive line is, as good as any in the Big Ten. I mean, it is that kind of offensive line. Very, very good. Skilled people. They're fast. It's a very fast football team. You look at the receivers. It's 25. It's 1. It's 2. And these are really athletic kids. In the backfield, 33 and 6 are really good running backs. And then their quarterback, the guy who's new this year, Johnson, number 3. I mean, we recruited him. He's a really good player who's multidimensional. He can run. He can throw. He's a strong arm guy. So this will be a huge test for our defense. This is a very athletic, fast, productive offense.
Yeah, I was going to ask about the quarterback. He's the first real running quarterback you've faced this year. How does that challenge your defense in terms of preparing for this one?
Well, it's a big challenge. Number one, it changes all the math. When the quarterback carries the ball and can do it well, then the defensive math changes. And really, playing good defense is getting people to the point of attack and then making the tackle. So when the quarterback runs it, you need to get another guy to the point of attack. And obviously, he doesn't run it all the time. He reads it, so it's like option football. So it changes. And then on the passing downs, if he has the ability to scramble, you have to account for that. And what I've noticed, it's really. I think he had 1 start last year, and then obviously these 2 this year. He scrambles, but he scrambles first to throw it down the field. then when he decides to go, he's a really good runner, very good runner. But it's not where he just tucks it to run right away. So we're going to have to hold coverage when he does start to move out of the pocket, and then be ready once he crosses the line of scrimmage to come up and try to get him down, which is, you know, easier said than done. He's a 230-pound man who runs very well.
Front row right, Tim.
With that said, you know, the Cavante Turpin, their little guy, punt return guy and stuff, what special problems does he present from a speed standpoint, et cetera?
Yeah, it's speed, it's elusiveness. He's quick as a cat. So, like I said, their three wideouts all present different issues, but the common denominator is they all can run, and that's usually not a good thing. So we really got to be on top of our game.
And the other thing, I was just asking Coach Day this, Greg, but when you take a team back to where it just won a game like 9 months ago and stuff, is that better than going on a true road test or a road trip to that other team's stadium? I mean, there's a chance the stands could be half and half, you know, with the Buckeye fans there and stuff on Saturday. But what's your take on that?
You know, I haven't given that a lot of thought. That's a good point, and that's a good question. Certainly, there'll be a familiarity with the stadium, and having played there, the locker rooms, all that stuff. So I guess any time that you're more familiar with something, it's a little bit easier. But you know, it's really a home game for them, right? I mean, it's 30 minutes down the road, so I wouldn't get too excited about it.
Far left, Matt.
I know you touched on this a little bit after the game, but Chase Young, what lesson do you want him to learn out of a game like that with the emotions that he brings to the football?
Well, I don't want to make too big of a deal of it, to be honest. I think just you need to control yourself so you don't get a penalty, because like I said after the game, if it were a tight ball game, a penalty or losing a player of that magnitude would really hurt us. But I love the excitement that he plays with, the passion that he plays with. Just got to kind of harness it just a little bit. It's not, you know, but my thing to the defense is I want us to play with that edge. And, you know, I think playing great defense, part of it is having an edge. So just got to be careful we don't overdo it and tempering it.
And front row left, Doug.
Greg, how have you seen opponents block Nick Bosa so far? Are they doubling him? Are they helping on him? Is he getting a lot of one-on-ones? What's the first two games?
He's not getting a ton of one-on-ones. If you saw Saturday, Rutgers started their tight end out wide, motioned him down, and really cracked him once pretty hard. So Nick's going to have to be aware of that. We're going to have to be aware of that, because I think it'll get more and more creative every week, because he is such a special player. We need to do a good job of moving him around. We can't just leave him in one spot, because then you can target him, right? But if you put your tight end out there to bring him in and all of a sudden he's not there, well, then it gets hard to block him. So we need to help him, and he needs to be a little bit more aware. His teammates need to help him. When there's someone in a motioning that's in a position to crack him, we got to let him know, because they are doing things special for sure.
And so just as things progress, especially on the third down packages, when you have Draymond, when you have Chase Young, if they're performing, do they make it harder for teams then to put more people on Nick, if you have more other people that you have to account for too?
Yeah, well, as I was saying, defensively, you know, it's all about math, the numbers. It's the same thing in protection. You know, if you commit 6 to protection or you commit 7 to protection, it's less people in the route. And less people in the route means that you can cover them better, because there's more people that are able to get in the throwing lanes and that kind of thing. So it is a trade-off in everything you do, on offense as well as on defense. And so if they choose to keep, you know, a double on Nick and a double on Chase, then they're single on Draymond, you know, and they have to kind of pick which ones they want to double on. But a lot of that is based on concept of passing game. You know, how fast the ball's coming out and where the ball's coming out. You know, you always want to protect the blind side of your quarterback. So all that goes into it, and in the protection scheme, and then that's what we try to attack. We try to attack the protection scheme with the players we have.
And just context on Nick. He looks pretty good to us so far through 2 games. You've been around, you've been in the NFL, you've been in college. What are you seeing? What's the context on Nick Bosa on how much he is affecting games as a pass rusher and how good he is playing?
He's playing at a high level, very high level. Yeah, he affects, as an offensive coach, you're going to know where he is all the time. But as you mentioned, I think, you know, there's some other guys out there too, and that's the beauty of it when it comes to rushing the passer. So what we're seeing is some things in the run game to try to slow him down. when you face a player of Nick's talents, it's not just that play where you got to protect him. What people try to do is slow him down on other plays, on run plays, you know, make him play off this block and that block and just try to distract him. So that I'm sure Nick will see more and more of.
And final question, front row right. Rob?
Greg, not here to launch a Heisman campaign, but when a guy like Nick following up on that can change a game, is it time for a defensive guy to be in that discussion? What are your thoughts on the Heisman and a defensive player?
Well, you know, I'd love to say, yeah, let's get a defensive player in there, but I think there's been one in how many years, right? So the reality is it's more of an offensive award because it's easier to chart, it's easier to make a big deal of touchdowns and rushing yardage and passing yards, and I understand that. Nick's a dominant player in college football right now for sure. There's awards for that as well. If you know, usually what happens in a year when, well, it's happened once, so what am I say usually? But it would take a year where no one really had tremendous stats offensively for a defensive player to win it.
But he could be the best player in America, you're saying?
I like him on our team, I know that. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.